All right, good evening, guys. Ken at Tortoise Capital, nightly strategy podcast, December 21st, 2021. So I was doing some work with the Leadership Academy's leader development program for players and families. And we were talking about resolving conflict with social intelligence. So this is just the form that we're using. If you find that this might help with family during the holidays, feel free to try it. So this is the model that you describe the specific behavior, you acknowledge the feeling that it generates in you, truthfully, and the reason why that feeling occurs. And we make a bet on the future. Can we agree on something? And is it going to be okay that we are both satisfied with the social intelligence agreement? So that little model is something we're teaching the kids to constructively deal with human communication transactions. And Lord knows we could use some of that. This one is something we put together during the hybrid course. I was searching for some things and came across this as a reminder of a pretty good idea of the virtuous circle. And what we want is an improved trading practice, right? And there are things that lead to an improved trading practice. One of them is when you are engaged in trying to improve your trading practice, you end up going to the chat room to experience experiential learning, which then feeds back into improving your trading practice. So an intention to improve your trading practice leads towards seeking out that kind of an environment. Well, if you want to improve the chat room experiential learning, then you should document your learning the way Luke and Ken Hum do inside your learning journal. So you want to not only just mark up your charts, but you also want to organize those charts in a journal, and you want to record the lessons learned in such a way that that you can see the themes, you can reinforce the learning efficiently, and that will lead back to an improved trading practice as well. So there's sort of this chain. Well, one of the things that we want to do with the documentation and the research weekend is, or the lessons learned journal, is we use that as part of the research weekend as a peak experience in order to celebrate and study the results of your trading. And it turns out that when you do that and you attend the research weekend, you get all kinds of ideas for new systems or modifications of systems that will improve your trading practice, because you are generating new and better systems, or refinements of old systems, if I say it that way. Another thing that the research weekend does is you get to do a market analysis with us when we're going through it, but it also teaches you how to do that market analysis. And it turns out that when you improve your understanding of the markets, you're going to improve your trading practice, because in the way we trade, understanding the market is 50% of the battle. So when you learn how to improve your market analysis, you're going to see a payoff directly in your improved trading practice. The other thing that happens in the research weekend is that, because of the nature of the presentations we make, there's always an element of self-analysis and the lessons learned as a result of doing that research, and then testifying to those in public and doing that with your accountability partner. That research weekend is a driver, not only for systems and market, but also self. And that deeper understanding of self leads to an improved trading practice. that self-analysis then becomes the subject for some good coaching, which you learn to do for yourself by looking through a coach's eye, but with your accountability partner and possibly with me or one of the other traders. And that coaching can lead to improved trading practice. One of the things that you get from an improved trading practice is that you learn the ability to coach yourself and to coach others. And so what you notice in the chat room is that the traders that are in there trying to improve their own understanding end up becoming coaches for other guys when they notice things and they talk about things that they see. So that chat room experiential learning leads to improved trading practice. And coaching, when done correctly, leads to a social professional contract between the coach and the coachee, which takes the form of documenting those lessons learned and any agreements for accountability. So if your accountability partner is seen as a coach, then what this leads you to documenting that relationship and documenting the agreements that you make in each coaching session. And again, that documentation now comes back into the chat room as a way to double check your behavior in the chat room to see if you're living up to the standards and the agreements that you made with your coach and in the documentation. So it turns out, finally, that documentation also has a direct payoff to improve trading practice, because you actually get to see now the time series performance of all these micro advantages over time. And all of those things end up leading you towards this land of milk and honey in here. The purpose of all this virtuous cycle is the improved trading practice. So there is a chain of custody, a virtuous cycle that occurs when you start going through this immersive trading process in the community of practice with people that are speaking a common language. It's really kind of neat to see. So I wanted to share that with you. Sort of the ecosystem approach. Finally, Phil Wu has contributed another amazing artifact from his deep dive into the foundations course. So the foundations course actually is 4 sub-courses put together, and the 37 strategies is one of those 4 courses. And Phil's put together his detailed flashcard sheet for these, but he's also summarized them beautifully in this matrix, where he's looking at how the 37 strategies map to plan, prepare, execute, and assess, but then also how it maps to self, systems, and markets. And I want you to notice just how populous the psychology and the self really is. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 20, fully 23 of the strategies have to do with mental planning, preparation, mind state, and execution, and then in assessment. And so he's done, as an example, he's noted that a strategy for improving yourself in the assessment phase is to start with strategy 0, your own personal learning journal. It starts with that as a deliberate process. And then appreciating that trading is a skill-based activity that can be managed. Then knowing your edge, knowing the details of your histogram for analysis and what it says about your psychology. The notion of sustain, improve, and action, the daily after action process, is a daily discipline that is a psychological element of our learning. And then the daily after action review, a process that we go through that incorporates strategy 14. but also puts it into a structured format for action. So he's done a masterful job of taking about, probably 25 hours of lectured material that covers all of these in greater detail, and put together the set of flashcards and the note sheet that provides a terrific workbook for the foundations course. So I'll be uploading that. I just uploaded it into the course as a resource, and I'll be posting it for members in the on Patreon as well. So just a hat tip to Phil Wu. He's just really doing a real service to the team. To that end, I'm also looking for a couple more interns that would be interested in working through, under Phil's supervision, working through the nightly strategy podcast from the year 2020, when we were recording the hybrid workshop night after night, and using that to build out a lot of the principles and practices that we're using now every day. But we want to kind of get that documented and into the same format. So if you're in the sound of my voice out there and would be interested in working to this kind of a standard with Phil's help, then let me know, and then we'll start hooking that up. All right, let's shift to the to today's work. So yesterday was a nice little, end of the sell-off. We classified that as a 3-day red sell-off, but the little rebound at the end of the day brought it back above the Z-2, gave us some reason to hope for a potential channel being developed here. And we were mindful that this would be a natural place for that kind of channeling and overreaction move to occur, which happened here the last time and here the time before. And in fact, that's kind of what happened. There was a gap up, a little bit of a sell-off, and then a strong follow through to bring price at the close back within a hair of the Bollinger Band mean at 464. It closed just inside the southern skin of the dragon. So there has been a pretty nice recovery here from the 10-day low back to today's close. It was fully half the length of the channel. That's what a reversion to the mean looks like after an excursion beyond Z2. That's what that first least surprising move looks like. It was enough to flip the hull back into positive territory. The PSAR is continuing to move right along. The RL10, still in the summer, has now slowed its roll and is getting ready. If there's one more up day, this is going to turn and start rolling up, and that's going to make a local minimum, which will be essentially the beginning of a Kata 2 formation, which will look like this. If we get one more up day, then we would be seeing the bottom of the RL10 here, and then the bottom of the RL10 there, and then that would lead to like a Kata 2 when it crosses the dragon. So somewhere in here around 468, we got to be prepared to buy. My contention is that tomorrow there's an opportunity for some intraday upward trading. So if this continues, like in the blue box, which is the rest of the dragon, I will be ready to jump on moves to the upside, but not to maintain a swing trade posture until it clears the dragon altogether and gives me something like a Kata 2 entry. So this is where I start picking up the swing trade orientation. In that blue box is where I'm going to be a tactical trader only. But once it clears the top of the dragon there, then we're so close to the 10-day and all-time high that it just makes sense to bet on the market once more. So that's kind of where we are right now, is cautiously optimistic, ready to be a good intraday trader tomorrow. But also, once again, ready to take on the short side. So if it doesn't get up into that blue box, but starts failing, then I'm also going to be a tactical trader down to about here, the belly of the RL10. And if that were to happen, then this is about where I pick up the short swing if that violates, because now I'm looking for it to get back to the previous RL10, and that's where I pick up a large swing position on a collapsing dragon. So this would be tactical trading in this blue box, a definite short side orientation in this red box, and then a swing position on the short side if it violates the belly of the RL10, because that would be a clear collapsing dragon. So that's my my generic strategy for tomorrow. Let me know in chat if that's clear and if that was helpful. All right, next up is our sector analysis. So today the S&P was up 1.78. The Qs were up 2.2, and the small caps up 2.86. So real strong vote to the upside with the U.S. speculative indexes. Emerging markets were very close at 1.7. The diamonds did pretty well at 1.61, and only the treasuries were in the red, but they only gave back 0.38. So they're still within 80 cents of the important price level 150. So that was they're still, guys, respecting the defensive, their defensive positions in treasuries, despite these 2 days of or day and a half of recovery. So to me, the opportunity is in the broader, the Russell to get another follow through day tomorrow. Let's take a look at the sectors that did better than the S&P today. So we had the large cap blended crypto. Crypto was pretty good all day. Finance blended commodities 2%. You had tech, consumer discretionary, and energy 2.5 to 2.8. The FANGs, ARC Genomics, oil, Bitcoin, ARC Innovation, up 3.8. Clean energy 4.25. Blockchain, oil exploration 4.75. Commercial real estate 5.6. Bitcoin and Ethereum up 6 and 6.75. And then some big movers today in our tradable targets. There's our favorites again. Devon Energy 8%, Squarespace 7.7, Alcoa 7%, Virgin Galactic and Robinhood 5%. Tesla had a nice recovery to get above 900. Still has a way to go before it gets back to 1,000, but it was a nice recovery move today. Coinbase, PayPal, John Deere, and Cliff, all looking pretty good. Microsoft as well, 2.3. And even Apple was better than the S&P. So all the usual suspects, but a really strong performance by the materials and energy sectors for sure. And really nice recovery in Bitcoin. Very tradable. All right, to the downside, there was not much that underperformed the S&P today, but those are instructive. There's agriculture 1.6, moonshots 1.5, marijuana, lithium. You have materials was 1.26, wheat and precious. The two lumbers were around 1%. S&P bio, Mexico and Brazil. Consumer discretion or consumer staples, excuse me. And then the individual companies that underperformed. just a few. TX, the steel company, still 1.3. That's hard to argue with that. Yeah, and that's the only other company that I'm seeing. Yeah. So most of our usual suspects to the upside, energy, some finance, the metals, and all the cryptos, plus the small caps looking for another follow through tomorrow. We shall see. But remember, we're very close back to the Bollinger Band mean, and there's no such thing as easy money, but if there was, it's already been made in this little bounce. And so I want you to notice that the tension that we felt the last 2 days was resolved with an upside move. And so you got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable when it comes to making those trading decisions. So we're right in the middle now of the Bollinger Band mean, and this market can be big in either direction. So we'll be ready for that. All right, let's take a look at the boys today. Here's a nice one in Bitcoin. This is pretty nice here. This is about maybe 16 R. Could have been 20. All right, so the first one, getting started with a little bit of a PSAR flip and making bank just to get started. Nice re-entry, going for the second position. Oh, this actually looks like a short that covered, and then trying long and an exit. So that's off 1.5. Now there's the Z3 pinch, and then the breakout with a second and a third position, this rocket, and now a great capture here for 715 into, that's about 17 R right there. That'll get paid. Now, this is where you got to crush it, right? When you have that kind of explosive move to the upside in the initial sell-off, and then it holds above the dragon, above the PSAR, above the Bollinger Band mean, and then takes out this little shelf. Yes, yes, yes. And then what would be a perfect exit. So we got to have that. And then if your re-entry is here in kind of the usual way, you would say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's probably 5 on this one, 3 on that one, 2 on that one. There's another 10 waiting for this. Reasonable effort on the short side, good recovery. A short was possible. This is, you'd like to see that as the scratch. That's a good, both of those are good efforts. And so you still net out at about 15 R for the day. That's pretty good work. And this is on the, this is Bitcoin on the 3 minute. Sorry, my pen came unplugged just for a moment. Okay, yeah, about 15. And so this is Bitcoin on the 3s. All right, this is Joe on the S&P. Really nice work here. He's working the S&P on the 2 minute. I want you to feel how orderly and measured this is. All right, so this was yesterday's close. And there's a nice gap up. Now, later on, when he's figuring out this trade, he uses the low of the day and he projects from there to the range stat. So he knows what the upper limit move would really be like. And that's and it darn near made a range stat move today. So even after you get this nice move, that final move to the range stat is still in there. So we got to be ready to reframe and continue to work. So this is a nice gap up, hold support above the Bollinger Band mean, and then it recrosses the dragon to the upside. I would treat that as a kata 2. That looks good. This is a great scratch. He finds support here. It still hasn't closed the gap, so I treat that as an SSC. He gets 1, 2, 3, 3.25. It peaks out, and then he takes the sniper exit when it crosses the dragon. Here's the one I want to point out for Joe. There's a reasonable second position in here when you're ready to start adding second positions, because this is like a relaxed kata 2. The Bollinger Band mean has really gotten strong. And this entry takes out the previous hump of the RL10s and is darn near taking out the peak of the dragon. So that's almost a, it's very close to a new high of the day. But that's a very nice piece of work here. So for a total of 3R for today, trades 21 and 22. And then this is the lesson learned. Start framing the next trade again. He was busy celebrating the win. So let the monkey celebrate. You get back to work and finish your shift. If you were in the shop, you'd just say, all right, finish the shift. Count later. Don't count your money when you're sitting at the table, says Kenny Rogers, right? In The Gambler. But really nice work. Good recovery from yesterday. Just following procedures. All right, now this one, there's a lot going on in here. We're still getting a lot of what I would call stick time, and that is getting lots of practice with lots of patterns. The problem that I'm seeing is that you're on the 5 minutes on the chart, but you're trading so frequently that it's hard to see the patterns because all the price action is so condensed. You're doing all your work within 1 or 2 bars, and I think you ought to be looking at the 2 minute or maybe even the 1 minute. So start with a 3 minute chart, see if that gives you a little more fidelity and a little more clarity on these. Now, you're catching the moves when they're hitting, but you would see this one as a really available kata 2 if you were on the 1 minute or the 2 minutes. This is like you'd get into that re-entry sooner. That's still a terrific exit, but I think it's easier to see what the rules are for exiting. And then notice that you've got all of this white space down here that's not being used for your chart. So all this price action is really tightly compressed, and it's hard to get any kind of visual discrimination. And then towards the end of the day, you're just kind of trading, monkeying around. So I think you would improve your work if you start looking at maybe the slightly faster on the time frame, so you get more fidelity on these moves, and then make more use of the screen space so that you can get a little more discrimination on the patterns. But very good documentation all the way through, showed good evidence of maintaining your energy level. If anything, we just got a little excitable here at the 2 endpoints, but did a nice job in here. The other thing I would say is on the 3, 2, or 1 minutes, you'll find ways to get second positions in here, here and in here. You'll find it easier to make the second positions. And as actively as you're trading it, it feels to me like you could handle that. This just in. All right, so we took a look at Boeing over the weekend, and that thing has been postured pretty nicely. Here's one where Ken H notices the mover, and very good patience on this one. You can't get them all. So what he does is he notices the gap up and he notices the mover. He waits for the stabilization, the base to be formed. It holds support at the PSAR like it's supposed to, and then starts to resume. So he nails it with a tight stop. Might have added a second position here or here, but takes a good sniper exit for 4.5. It makes the reversal here after an excursion just fractionally out of the river, then gets a nice RLXD for a COTA 2. Pays off with the sniper for 1.5. COTA 2.5. Now, he's able to avoid the chop. Now, notice this one is 4.5, then 1.5, then a half. So it's starting to grind, and then there's nothing left. So it's that early move. And then it just, so big move, smaller move, and then grind. And now you can see how that shapes into the afternoon grind. And that's where you get chewed up in Crocodile River, which he does not do. So that gives him 6.5. So that's a 6.5 simply by noticing the mover, waiting for the COTA 2. Really nice work. All right, let's go to dashboard number 1. Still volatile conditions, still oversold on the 10-day, still got some the US symbols, like those are already well in the money from the first day's performance, and just inching into the green here on the risk on. Still a ton of auto framers ready to go. More dojis today than yesterday. I think, had some weakness in Goldman Sachs and Morgan in the finance. Still a ton of goodies in the ETFs, including Brazil on an 11-to-1, and Latin America on a 9.5-to-1 frame, and then still some catch up to do in the globals. But for me, the reliability of the U.S. Indexes and the momentum that they've seen in the last 2 days is the reason why you want to go there. But we did notice clean energy yesterday, and today it was had a big payoff with 4.28% after a long period of underperformance. So that should still be ready to go. Ton to choose from in the auto framer, so it's a buyer's market. Caterpillar, Cat, Latin America, and real estate all squeezed, ready to go. That's always a good thing. Still being dominated by winter, but it's worth looking at the ones that are in the green as follow through. So like Cisco, IBM. So this is some of your conventional tech right here. And I think Pfizer and United Health have some interest in them as well. Yeah, Cisco and IBM looking good in tech space. And metals and mining finally made a recovery run today. Mexico continues to be good. finding support here at the base. And, volatility still on the uptick, but may be ready to start rolling over here and to come back into normal. So we'll see how that goes. All right, plenty of stuff to work on for tomorrow. Let's be ready, and we will see you in the chat room tomorrow.